Wow, that looks so cute. Hey, so let's plan for the new year. Some people feel like the whole New Year's resolution thing is getting old and stuff, and I agree. When you just make a list of things you want to do and there's no due date to them, there's no guarantee of them actually getting done at any specific time or date, it's a waste of time and you're probably not going to do it. What works really well for me personally are making SMART goals. I think it's very important that you submit your plans to God, because there's a verse that talks about how we can form our plans, and do all we want to do, but ultimately God has the final say. I know that is the roughest translation, so it'll probably be on the screen. The moment I woke up, I had been praying that God would be involved in my planning, just to make sure I'm on the right track and I'm going towards his plan and his will for my life. But anyway, I feel like that was a very long intro. Let's just get into planning. I think first we should probably get into what exactly are SMART goals, and what is the difference between New Year's resolutions and actually making SMART goals, because I do think you should still go into a year with vision, rather than just going into a year whatever happens, happens. If there's somewhere you see yourself in the future, you want to make sure that you're working towards obtaining that. I'm using Forbes, of course. A SMART goal is defined by its 5 key aspects or elements. Without all aspects, you might be goal setting, but not effectively creating a plan for success. 1000% agree. SMART goals are broken into 5 categories, which makes up the S.M.A.R.T. So S would be specific. So specific goals have a desired outcome that is clearly understood. This might be a sales number or a product rollout. No matter what it is, the goal should be clearly articulated so that everyone is on the same page with the objective. So rather than saying something like, I want to eat better, maybe your specific goal could be, I want to take in less dairy and I want to eat more protein. I'm literally talking about myself. And then the M, which is measurable, these are the numbers used with the goal. You need to have a quantifiable objective that you can track progress, Define what data will be used to measure the goal and set a method for collection. Let's say I say, okay, I want to write a novel. Great, now let's break that down into actual numbers. How long do you plan on working on this novel? Let's say you want to give yourself 6 months to write the novel. Okay, great. So now you have 6 months locked down. But now you need to break that down even more. Meaning, how many words do you plan on writing a day, a week, a month? And even within that, how many hours are you setting aside to write every day, or however many days you plan on writing? These are all things that are measurable, and this is what will help you achieve your goal. Rather than trying to look at it just from afar, you're able to break it down, keep your head focused on whatever task you have for that day, and then by the end you realize you've achieved your goal. It's a little bit easier and less straining and stressful, because instead of you just thinking, oh my gosh, I have to finish a novel in 6 months, it's okay, this is what I have to do today. And then the next day, this is what I have to do today. And if you want, you can check in weekly to see how you've done for that week. But the point is, you can be confident in the fact that you're going to achieve this goal of finishing this novel in 6 months, because you've broken it down to increments. Next is the A, which is achievable. Goals need to be realistic in order to maintain the enthusiasm to try to achieve them. Setting lofty goals is big, but you may want to break them down into smaller bite-sized chunks. Literally what I just said. If the goal is not doable, you may need to first ramp up resources to give yourself a shot at success. Ramping up resources would likely be its own SMART goal. I don't think it's necessary saying you can't dream big. You most certainly can dream big, but you also don't want to have this mindset of, okay, because I said it now, it's just going to happen. No, you need to get up and actually do it. And if it's not achievable in 1 year, that's fine. It can be achievable in the next. But the point is that you write your plan for it. Let's say your goal is you want to reach 5,000 subscribers on YouTube. It may be a big goal, but there are ways you can make it achievable. So for example, you can have a schedule of how often you actually plan on filming and also posting on your page. Also, if you want to grow this channel, maybe you need to reach out to other platforms such as TikTok, Instagram. Is that it? Is that all we use? And then R, which is relevant. Goals should be aligned with the mission of the company. Don't set goals just as an exercise for something to do. One way to determine if the goal is relevant is to define the key benefit to the organization. So I know obviously this is talking more so about a business. I think in terms of making things relevant, is there something on your list that you can possibly move to a different time. Or maybe it's just something you don't need to put as much attention on, because I think sometimes when we set so many goals and resolutions, we're putting way too much on our plate than we can handle. So I think your first step is write everything down, all your goals, very vague, very broad, and then from them you can decide, okay, is this super important, or does this need as much attention as A, B, and C? And you can kind of prioritize in that way. I don't think you should give your highest priority and your most attention to everything, because you will actually tire yourself out and you will experience burnout. Is the sun trying to come out? And then lastly, T, which is time bound. Goals should have a deadline. A goal without a deadline doesn't do much. How can you identify success or failure? This is why SMART goals set a final date. This doesn't mean that all work is done, but it means that you can evaluate the success of the endeavor and set new goals. Big emphasis on this doesn't mean that all work is done. It's very important that you set a deadline for every goal that you have, but I also think there needs to be grace extended to yourself if you don't meet it at that time. You should applaud yourself that you worked towards it. Dang, this date came and I'm still not done. Instead, it should be, wow, this date came and this is how much I've accomplished. But deadlines are huge because they hold you accountable. But please set realistic dates. If you're trying to write a novel, right? I don't think you should make your due date for that 3 weeks. Granted, some people do that for NaNoWriMo. That's not my business. But for me, that is in no way realistic. And I'm probably just not even going to start writing because I'm lying to myself. But you set realistic dates, but also don't make it too easy for yourself either. Let's say you want to build your savings account. Maybe your goal can be, okay, I'm going to put in $100 every other week into my savings. If you know you make enough to be putting that much into your savings, do it. Don't do something like, all right, I'll put $1 in every other week into my savings. And if you're looking at your finances and know that you can put significantly more than $1, then do it. You don't want to make such easy goals, because then what are you really achieving? You're cheating yourself at this point. I like to use CollaNote. I don't know how to say it, but that. It's like the cheap and free version of GoodNotes. So I broke my goals down into categories: spiritual, career, financial, etc. But today I'll go over 2, and those will be spiritual and career. I would do all of them, but this video would be like 50 years long. So let's start with spiritual. So we're gonna start with our S, which we know is specific. So for me, I want to draw closer to Christ. So we want to start with specificity. What do I mean by draw closer to Christ? For me, that would be like, I'm going to be more intentional with the time that I spend with God, and I want to actually feel an impact every time I'm with him. And so under that could be spending more time with my Bible study, because I think sometimes we can rush through those and it's like you're kind of missing what you need from here if you rush it. Prayer, I think I need to be a bit more diligent with prayer, so I'm just gonna write that. Let's move on to M, which is measurable. Let's put some numbers to this. What can I do? So this is actually something I've been wanting to change. I tend to do my Bible study and prayer and all that when I come back from the gym, and I don't like that. So instead of doing it at 10, I think I can sacrifice and wake up earlier. Because let's see, I wake up right now at 7:20 and I leave for the gym, make it to the gym by 8. If I want more time to do Bible study, I think I could wake up at 6. Saying that sounds really difficult, but there are people who wake up earlier than that. So we're gonna break that. How much time do I want to give myself? I'm gonna try and give myself the full hour, so I'll just put underneath. Technically, it's a little longer than an hour because my alarm is still gonna go off at 7:20. So an hour and 20 minutes. Let's just, yeah. All right, cool. We get an hour and 20 minutes to pray and read our Bible, and that sounds pretty good. Now we can move on to A, which is achievable/attainable. I have resources, I have friends, people I can reach out to. So for example, I would probably say church, because sometimes this can be very difficult to do by yourself, but with a group of people, it can make it a lot easier and a lot more attainable. For the category of achievable, or what I keep calling attainable, usually I use that category to figure out what my resources are, because the question is, how can this goal be accomplished? So I try to think, what resources are going to make this possible? What resources are going to make this more achievable and more attainable? The resources are quite literally whatever. It can be people, it can be websites, it can be links, whatever resources you are going to reach towards that are going to help you make this goal achievable, that's what you would put in this category. Now we can move on to R, which is relevant. I think for this one, I don't really need to write much, because is this relevant to me? Yes. Do I consider it to be high priority? Yes. So I'm literally just gonna put high priority. And for the relevant category, this is just where I decide whether something is of high priority, medium priority, or low priority. This is a good category because it helps you narrow down what is actually necessary to be listed as a goal and what's not. Sometimes you can start out with like 20 something goals, but then by establishing the relevancy of each one, you can narrow it down to like 5 to maybe 7, because sometimes we put everything down as a goal, but not everything is necessary. Some things are of lower priority, or some things do not need to be taken care of every single day. Some things can be taken care of like once a week, once a month, etc. And then lastly, we have time bound. And I don't think we really have too much of a due date for this, but as you can see, this is how you create a SMART goal. So I'm only going to do one more with you, and then we'll call it a day. We're going to do our second example, and this is the final one. And I think I will make this, you know what, let's do career. Let's do career because there's so much that you can do with that. I'm going to go into a new page and let us do career. Let's pick my second channel, Ashley Did It. What is the goal? To grow. The goal is to grow Ashley Did It, which is my second channel, second page, second brand, all that jazz. It's the second business at this point. What do I even mean by grow? Do I want to grow in number? Do I want to grow in my community? Do I want new business ventures with it? What do I want? Grow in my number of subscribers. I want to expand my social media presence beyond YouTube. Let's say I want to work with brands. Now let's move on to measurable. This is where we start to add numbers and scales to things. For example, we can start with subscribers. How many? Because all I wrote was grow in number. How many and by when? By when you can technically put for T for deadline, but I think I just want to mention it now because it helps me measure. You know what, let's go big or go home. I don't know what's gonna happen, but let's go for it. Okay, let's say my goal is to reach 1,000 subscribers by the end of 2023. That's huge, bro. I'm writing big goals. Hold up, I'm not even gonna lie, like I don't even want to write that. I'm assuming by social media presence, what am I saying I'm assuming? I'm the one who wrote it. By social media presence, I'm more so talking about Instagram, TikTok, etc. right? How many followers do I want from Instagram? How many followers do I want from TikTok? So let's start with IG, which you know is Instagram. Before I even go into subscribers, I want to talk about how often I'll actually be posting. I want to post that at least twice a month. The reason why I'm putting twice a month rather than like every week is because I have to be realistic with myself. You have to make sure it's achievable. And if I'm already posting on my main channel and a second channel, and I'm also doing ministry for church, it makes no sense for me to set a goal like I will drop a reel TikTok short every single week. I can't. I'm one person, I get tired. So I'm gonna put twice a month. So that's basically every other week. Now we can get into followers. So for Instagram, I think I want to try and reach at least like 1,000. So let's try to reach 500 by the summer. Sure. And then we also have TikTok, which I literally just created, so I literally don't have anybody. I don't even know how TikTok works, so I don't know what number I should put. But let's go big or go home. I'm gonna put 500 on there as well. I'm gonna extend grace to myself for this one because I don't be using TikTok, to be real with you. But now we can move on to A, which is achievable / attainable. I want to post on YouTube bi-weekly. And now with that in mind, I'm aware that by only posting bi-weekly, reaching 1,000 subs is not easy, which is why I'm trying to grow my social media presence on other social media platforms, because then people can always be brought back to my channel. I'm doing work on other platforms that will hopefully bring everything back to one main platform. We've already kind of touched on my social media schedule, so I'm just gonna add that on here as well. Oh, but one thing I really want to write on here is breaks. I don't think we talk about that enough. Your work day. Let's say the work day starts at 10:30, and then I'm gonna put that the work day ends at 6. That's about 7.5 hours, and I feel like that's good. I placed my schedule in the achievable category because I consider it a resource. Even though it's not like a physical thing like a book or a website, it's something I'll be looking at often to keep track of my social media postings, so I consider it a resource because it keeps me on. I just said that. Bye. And this varies. My schedule is relatively flexible because there are some days where I make plans to hang out with people, and so I'll like rearrange my schedule to make sure I have time to hang out with people while still accomplishing all that I had set for like the day, for the week, etc. But that's really up to you. It really goes back to discipline. Okay, let us move on to R. I think for relevancy, I'm really going to, like I did before, focus more so on how much I prioritize this. It's something that I'm trying to accelerate beyond my main channel. The priority for it has to be relatively high. So I am going to put this as high priority. And lastly, we're going to go into time bound. And this is where we've set our due dates. And this is actually one of my favorite parts, because this is when it becomes serious. This is when it's like, oh no, now you have to do it. 1,000 subs by December 2023. Let's put a date to it. What day does the 31st fall on? Have 1,000 subs by December 31st. Post new YouTube video every other Friday. I think that's important that we establish that, be as specific as possible. And now we can go on to short content. Since I'm going to be posting short content twice a month, it should be in between. So the days that I'm not posting long content, which is YouTube, those should be the days that I'm posting short content. So Reels, TikTok, Shorts. That way I'm keeping my audience engaged with some sort of content, whether long or short. That's smart. That's smart, God. That's smart. So we're gonna write that. If this is done by this time, it's almost a guarantee that this will happen. There's some things I want to keep private, so I'm not gonna say all my plans for Ashley Did It, but listen. Ashley Did It is growing. That's all I'm gonna say. These are my SMART goals for career, specifically Ashley Did It. And from breaking it down into these little sectors, it helps us actually achieve the overall goal. There's specificity to it. It all just sort of makes sense. And even then, even within this, I was able to create a specific schedule to help me achieve this. So, and we did the same thing with spiritual as well. So I hope this was really helpful. I hope this encourages you to actually set resolutions, but not just resolutions, literally set SMART goals for the new year. My biggest piece of advice, and I have to say this, it really does rely on you. Obviously, you write these things out, you invite God into it, and you present it to Him. But more importantly, let Him orchestrate it. I think it's very important that before you even begin writing these goals out, that your prayer is, God, guide my hand, guide my plans. What I'm about to write, whatever I'm about to write, let it be from you. That's number one. And then once that happens, it's God, give me the discipline for it. Because God will give you the strength. He will give you the resources. He will provide in every area. There's one thing that you have to do, and it's that you have to get off your lazy butt and actually do it. You can't expect Him to give you all this and then do it for you. There needs to be a discipline that you have for yourself. And if you have to pray for discipline, pray for discipline. And so it's not easy. It does require a lot of discipline. It requires a lot of self-motivation, especially if you're in like entrepreneurship, but it's possible. It's more than just creating a cute little vision board and thinking that because you put pictures on paper, these things are going to happen. They're not. I'll catch you guys next year and next week. Peace.